been a while, hasn't it? I've stated previously that Rivals is not dead, and I gave reasons for this belief, but I'll be honest, even I was beginning to get nervous. I've been speaking with some of the new development team recently, and I'm hoping to get right back on with making intel report videos for the new units, and patch analysis videos for patches as they arrive. Watch this space, folks, and I'll let you all know anything as soon as I do. Anyways, thank you for bearing with me during this dry spell. After entirely too long, I am proud to bring you a new intel report. Ahoy! Captain Busy here, coming at you with another intel report, the series that rises from the grave just in time for Halloween, only to be shot down by some idiot who still insists that the game is dead. As always, this channel is supported solely by my amazing crew of faithful Patreons and by YouTube ad revenue. You can help support this channel by giving the video a big old thumbs up, commenting, sharing it, subscribing, letting the ads play out, and of course joining my crew on Patreon. Today we are looking at the latest unit to join the GDI war machine, the Razorback. Designed from the guns out to be the ultimate anti-infantry aircraft, the Razorback provides GDI forces precision strafing runs on soft targets with its twin 8mm rotating cannons. The Razorback can take advantage of its extremely agile design to maneuver around the battlefield and chase down escaping infantry units with ease. Well, that's concise. Should I just end the video here? The Razorback is a medium-cost aircraft built from the GDI helipad. It's fast-moving and it's agile, able to swiftly get out onto the battlefield to hose down enemy infantry in a shower of lead, and, as it has radar, it can do this whilst moving. Imagine, if you will, a Nod chem buggy. Take away the gas clouds and give it twin rotor blades. If this thought alone doesn't terrify you, allow me to elaborate. The Razorback rips enemy infantry to shreds and can do this from the vantage point of being in the sky. This means that the Razorback ignores battlefield obstructions like scenery and enemy units. There is no hiding from a Razorback, no running behind friendly units, no slinking off to the other side of a rock or lake. The Razorback will chase you down and will end your infantry. Being airborne also means that the Razorback is a slippery customer to deal with. Strafe over enemy units, rain lead on your prey, and then drift away to safety. Pinning a Razorback down long enough to actually hit it can be quite the difficulty. Units like Pitbulls and attack bikes might manage to get a single hit in before the Razorback hovers off out of range, laughing merrily as it goes. The funniest thing about this is that if there's an alternative ground unit nearby that your target is engaged with, you drift over your target knowing that your opponent is going to have a whale of a time frantically trying to get that unit to manually target the Razorback, only for it to hover back out of range so that the unit goes back to targeting whatever it was first shooting. Rinse and repeat. This means that units may struggle to focus on it long enough to kill it. To counteract this, however, the Razorback is stupidly fragile. An attack bike volley won't quite kill it, but it will leave the Razorback on low enough health that a strong gust of wind might just finish it off. Not that this matters if the Razorback is off to safety though. In fact, whilst units like the Talon, Hammerhead, Banshee and Phantom can pull a stationary Razorback out of the sky in a matter of heartbeats, the issue comes in actually connecting the two. Banshees and Talons need to pause for a moment to fire off their shots, and this simply isn't possible when a Razorback is flying circles around its ground prey. There's no actual hex for a Banshee or Talon to park in. Hammerheads and Phantoms do have front-facing radar so can catch a Razorback moving, but the Razorback can flee from a Hammerhead and will still be dealing damage as it goes. The Phantom, however, does fare slightly better as its EMP slows the Razorback down enough to get the rest of the volley in. But at equal levels, the full volley isn't quite sufficient to bring a Razorback out of the sky. You'll need to hope for another strong gust of wind or a single shot from a laser squad if they're not distracted. Slingshots, however, are much better at taking down Razorbacks. Their two-range nature means that they're able to ignore ground units in the way of the Razorback, and their inability to hit those ground targets means that they're rarely distracted from rinsing the Razorback either. Two attack bikes will take a Razorback out quickly, assuming they can hit it, and the same goes for Pitbulls and stealth tanks. Even the humble Buggy, Rhino and APC can do a decent chunk to a Razorback though, as incidental damage. Don't rule them out. Of course, it should go without saying that both Zone Troopers and Cyborgs utterly brutalise any Razorback to come near. Seriously, don't even try it. The Razorback will be scrap faster than you can blink. So that's how the Razorback works, and some ideas on how to deal with it. Now let's have a look at some ideas on decks to run it in. As usual, I've got two suggestions for you. The first is a variation of the 3-3 GDI air deck. Did anyone not see this coming? Like, seriously, raise your hand so I can give you a high five to the forehead. You all should know by now that I adore my GDI air decks, so it should come as no surprise at all that I'd want to try and crowbar the Razorback into my usual one. This deck actually works really solidly. You open and scout with riflemen and have missile squads for dealing with early vehicles, like those pesky cyber wheels and those mouth-breathing idiots who haven't figured out that bike rushing is a terrible idea against any opponent with brain cells. They'll also help against laser drones and most aircraft. Grenadiers round out the barracks with some serious anti-vehicle punch. Seriously, these dudes were solid on launch and they've had nothing but buffs ever since. Level them up and use them. They are better than tanks. The helipad is our next stop on this tour, and it contains Razorbacks for doing all the crazy awesome stuff I spent the first half of this video explaining, and Mohawks because, well, Mohawks are just incredible. A boosted Mohawk obliterates pretty much any ground vehicle in the game, and it's pretty much the sole reason that we're running Jackson here. Well, and because Jackson boosted Razorbacks are also pretty funny. Finally, Hammerheads are just there to make sure that your opponent understands that these guys are yours now. This is an aggro-style deck, although you do have answers to deal with most tech units too. Win quickly, know your counters, you know the drill. You can modify this slightly by swapping the Hammerhead out for slingshots. This does add the cost of a third building just for one unit, but considering how insanely good at dealing with aircraft the slingshot is, it may just be worth it. It does work out cheaper in the long run if you do have to build multiple of them too. This modification actually then forms a nice bridge to the second deck suggestion. Now this 2-2-2 gem is fairly standard fare. Like the 3-3 air deck, we have riflemen and missile squads for the early game, and we have Razorbacks and Mohawks in the helipad for the same reasons that I just gave. The deck does use the War Factory for slingshots, because slingshots are still amazingly good at ripping down aircraft, but we have the MLRS instead of Grenadiers. This shifts the entire deck's playstyle to being much more defensive, where you want to get the MLRS into position and the slingshot set up in a really awkward position nearby. These then act as staging points for your Razorbacks and Mohawks to go hunting from. In fact, if you really love micro and you really hate yourself, you can swap out Mohawks for Orcas for some real micro-intensive action. I will not be held accountable for any finger bleeding though, you have been warned. Alright, well now on to the final section of an intel report. Did I mention how much I've missed these videos? Where I break down and analyse a featured replay that uses the Razorback. Sit down, shut up, and let's begin! In this particular replay, we have Sinkiller on the left, and the Tank Engine 72 on the right, who I'll just refer to as Tank for ease throughout this video. Now, both of these guys are running with Razorbacks in their deck. Sinkiller is running a 2-2-2 with Jump Jet Troopers and Curiously Pitbulls, and Tank is running along with a variation of the 3-1-2, that's the slingshot variant that I mentioned earlier. Now, both of them have come straight out of the gate with Riflemen, and I'm expecting we're going to see a Rifleman dance going on here. By the looks of things, yes, very much so. This is basically where both players try to get Riflemen into good enough positions for decent 2-on-2s. Now, Sinkiller here has ultimately given up that little bit early. He has lost the positioning there. You can see that his first unit on the left is going to go down quickly before taking anything out, and his one on the right so then left in. This prompts him, of course, to upgrade into the helipad, bring out that Razorback, and straight away he's cleared that central pad. Tank, though, looks like he'd opened up the helipad for a similar idea, but then ended up moving straight into the War Factory for slingshots. Now, out comes some Jump Jet Troopers from Sinkiller just to push that slingshot back a little bit, and the first missile quite comfortably goes to Sinkiller. Now, it's a slight dance going to be going on here because we've got Jump Jet Troopers who are very, very fragile to those Rifleman squads, and that slingshot is just going to rinse down the Razorback. That said, a Jackson boost, as you can see, very quickly pulls down all of those Riflemen long enough for the Jump Jet Troopers to take out the slingshot. A second slingshot comes out, though, finishes off that poor old Razorback, and moves into position. Again, we've got Jump Jet Troopers dancing with a Pitbull, desperately trying to get round to deal with that slingshot. So I think Sinkiller knows that if he wants his Razorbacks to be able to do anything, that slingshot needs to be dealt with. In comes some jump jet troopers to try and take it out. Not fast enough. The slingshot does take out the Razorback, and the riflemen do deal with those jump jet troopers fast, very quickly, enough to not worry about it at all. And you can see the sheer amount of damage that a boosted Razorback will do to infantry. It just shreds them into teeny tiny ribbons. And you can see there, just diving into the range of the slingshot, moving back, coming back through and just finishing off anything in range. I think that Razorback is gone now as well. This missile is charging very, very slowly. I think Sinclair is desperately trying to deal with tanks, with tank slingshots, and with tank now also having the Razorback out, this proves to be more problematic. In fact, that Razorback with a boost is able to take out a pit bull long enough, I think, to launch this missile. Is it long enough? Yes, it's long enough to launch that second missile. Sinkiller has pulled through a harvester at the bottom of the side of the map as well, which is a great strategy for stealing a pad. Not so much on Broken Mesa, simply as it takes so long to get it into position. Now, what you can see here is that tank is making that 3-1-2 deck variation work. I prefer Grenadiers to jump jet troopers. I can't begin to fathom why he's using jump jet troopers instead of Grenadiers. I think Grenadiers are a much more solid option, but you can see here, like, they're perfect. He outranges that pit bull, dances over the jump jet troopers, and just rinses them into paste. Again, you can see that Sinkiller is desperately trying to get a slingshot up into position so that he can cover the skies and deal with that Razorback himself. Out comes Tank with his jump jet troopers. They're not going to be able to take out that slingshot before being rinsed down by a mixture of infantry and the Razorback, but that Razorback is swiftly taken out by the slingshot. An Orca comes in. This is why I love Orcas and why I said in that micro-intensive version you can have great fun, because Orcas do so much damage so quickly. They're one of the few things that can come in and just punch a slingshot, but I don't think that's going to be quite fast enough. Can he get in? Yes! Sinkiller manages to hold that to yellow. Again, he is bringing in the harvester. We very nearly had a launch then. A clutch Mohawk at the top for Tank, just punches through that slingshot. Both the central pads and the left pad go red. Second missile goes to tank engine, and out it comes. Now, what you've witnessed a lot in there is ultimately both players trying to keep the skies clear with slingshots whilst microing both of their Razorbacks around as well. That combination of the slingshots with the Razorbacks is a great way to just try and to deal with most things. You keep the skies clear. With the slingshots, the Razorback just comes in and keeps any infantry out of the way. Great game, guys. Really well played, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. See you all on the battlefield.